My name is Professor Derek Van Rheenen. I'm in the Graduate School of Education. I've also taught courses in American Studies. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses. I run a master's program called the Cultural Studies of Sport in Education, but I also teach several undergraduate courses, and the one that is in the American Cultures group is Education 75 AC. It's called American Sport, Culture, and Education. And it looks at, through the lens of sports, it looks at American cultures from an intersectional approach, and looks at the way in which, in many ways, sport mirrors American society in terms of issues of race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, ability, disability. And so that course I've been teaching for nearly 15 years. And in the last maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I changed the course so it became an ACES course. So it added an engaged scholarship component.
Great. And how did you come about teaching that? What made you feel like, this has to be part of the curriculum?
Well, I think that I already was interested in an intersectional approach, and I was already looking at sports as a lens. And I think it may have been just through conversations with other faculty who teach in the AC programs and the directors. I've known the last 2 directors of just saying, Derek, this would be a great course to be a part of AC. And so that was sort of the inspiration for me, and haven't looked back.
Great. And so what do you think were some of the things that you were looking for students to get out of the course?
I think in our culture, at least, as you know, sport is oftentimes glorified and celebrated in a way that is not particularly critical. And so what I wanted to make certain students were availed of is looking through a critical lens at ways in which sport is not only positive and builds character, some of the cliches that go along with it, but also that it excludes and it can institutionalize structural inequities, and so that a more balanced view.
Great. And so within that curriculum, what are some things that students have found, in your opinion, the most interesting or the most engaging, something that students were more excited to learn about within your course?
Well, if you look at something like race, for example, and the relationship of sport and race, oftentimes you will hear that, Jackie Robinson in 1947 breaks the color barrier, and that this is an indication that sport has helped to integrate society racially or ethnically. But of course, if one is a historian of sport, we know that in fact African American professional baseball players were playing in the United States in the late 19th century, and it wasn't until the Gentlemen's Agreement that they were actually excluded and segregated. So 1947 was returning to a point that the United States had already been at. So in many ways, what I try to do is look at the ways in which sports indeed can help integrate different groups and create some sort of intergroup understandings, but it also has the potential to institutionalize racism, sexism, homophobia, and those sort of things.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the ACES part of the course and some of the community partnerships that you've been working with throughout the years?
Sure. So what inspired me to turn the AC course into an ACES course is that I was talking for years about this intersection between, again, race and gender and sexuality, ethnicity, nationality, but I was not addressing, to my own satisfaction, issues of disability and the continuum of ability and disability. And so with the help of a couple of graduate students of mine, we really wanted to address this issue specifically. And so the engaged scholarship component is working with recreational sports on campus, disability studies minor, the DSP office, as well as community partners. There's a community partner called BORP that has been in the community for over 25 years that provides sporting opportunities for people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. They're the experts. I'm not the expert. They're the experts. So I brought them in to partner with us on this course, and we created an adjunct course in connection with my lecture which gave students and community members an opportunity to play a sport called goalball. And goalball is an interesting sport in the sense that it is a sport that was designed specifically for people who were visually impaired or blind. It was designed after World War II in Germany and Austria.
So can you tell us a little bit more about power soccer and how that is related to the course?
Yeah, so originally, as I said, the course was designed around goalball, which is a sport for the visually impaired. We added then, since that was very successful, we added yet another sport, which is power soccer. And of course I love that because I'm a former varsity soccer player here. I played professionally. To see now power soccer being played on this campus is really, really exciting. It is, again, like goalball, it is a sport where we are combining both those who are disabled, who are in actual wheelchairs already, given the opportunity for the first time to play. Some have actually played for many, many years already, with those who do not have disabilities, and we bought actually 4 power chairs to give opportunities for those individuals to see how this sport is played. And I think what's wonderful about it is it brings together different communities to learn from one another and to be able to play, cooperate together, to compete against one another. And it just it breaks down barriers that are there by nature of educational institutions, which in many ways enforce social and corporal norms that almost always privilege those that are able-bodied.
Mm-hmm. And so for students that are looking to take an AC course sometime in the future, what would you tell them to encourage them to take Education 75 AC?
Well, I think that I think generally speaking that students have really enjoyed the class. I think it's very interactive because the nice thing about this course is there is always something in the news immediately. There's always something that cuts across other categories, whether it be issues of racism, of sexism, of new trans policies, of all sorts of things. It's always fresh. And so this is not like, and no offense, but not looking at something from the 5th century. We can look at sport from the 5th century, but this is a very popular culture area of study that allows students to really engage in the moment, in the here and now, in this moment in time. So I think that's very exciting.